Hello and welcome to Advanced Television Academy TV channel. This morning we're talking about OSS BSS or back office functions for content providers. And with me is Henk Vaness, Managing Director of Enterprise Data Technologies.
Enterprise Data Technologies is a Dutch company. We formed just over 2 years ago. And all of us, all of the 12 guys and women, originate from the different broadcast companies in Holland, whether cable, terrestrial, digital backgrounds, some IT backgrounds as well. So it's a mix of broadcast and IT, primarily from real digital operators in Holland. That's where we originate from. In that time we noticed quite a few interesting challenges as an operator to deal with the products and services we needed in the back office environment. I'm talking primarily about customer care environment. OSS BSS, looking at a slightly wider angle of course, but originally it was customer care only. And we noticed quite a few problems there, dealing with the different companies, different suppliers, different challenges. Changes that took a long time with a lot of money involved, etc. So we thought of a number of solutions that helped us as an operator a great deal. Well, a couple of years ago we decided to go into the market with these products.
So Henk, you're from a content provider background and so are most of your colleagues. Whereas I guess most OSS BSS businesses have been built up from the telco side.
Yeah, correct. One of the first things we did was, as a content provider, we had to replace the CA system for, well, let's say for us, obvious commercial reasons in those days. One of those big challenges you have when you replace a CA system that you don't really want to take 3 or 6 months to do it. You really want from one day to another start using the new one and gradually exchange cards so the old one is fitted out quite rapidly. Well, if you have a CA system and you have to integrate with a SMS billing system, or usually one or more than those, and you place a second CA system next to it, you've got quite an integration challenge and issue there. So what we did to start with is to build a layer in between, what we call an integration server, integration platform, which served really as a sort of gateway to all the systems, northbound and southbound, i.e. on the OSS BSS side and on the technical side, which really allowed us from really day one, direct the new customers or customers that needed a change, etc., to direct them to the new CA system and gradually fade out the older CA system.
What kind of problems do content providers face, telco operators for example, when they come to try and add functionality like video on demand?
Well, the biggest problem is that usually they cannot get rid of their legacy system, because you do not throw away millions of euros of investment. And legacy systems, especially OSS BSS, are usually so much intertwined into the organization that you really cannot pull them out. If you're able to do that, it'll take a couple of years to slowly fade them out, fade away. So what they usually end up with is to select a second system next to the original one and build that one up from scratch for the new services, or potentially for everything once again. Legacy systems, just to come back to that one, legacy systems you cannot replace. You might be able to change or enhance them, but if you look at legacy systems, versions, etc., usually they're not supported fully anymore by the supplier, certainly not for new features. And if they can, it'll cost you tons of money to integrate new features.
So I guess what happens is you end up with lots of silos where applications are just not talking to each other.
Yes, that's right. And then you get if you look at it from a slight distance, from an IT perspective, you get a spaghetti network, because all the silos still have to communicate somewhere to the same systems, or even to each other as well. So you get a big spaghetti of communication running around, data running around between all those systems. So if you want to introduce a new system there, whether it's a new CA system or a new billing system, or even worse, a new finance system which needs data from all those other systems, then you end up with an integration challenge well, that you probably won't survive as an IT manager because it's too complicated, too risky. It's too risky as well because it is a running operation. And if you try to change things in a running operation, well, you're either very brave or very foolish. You know?
I guess as a small sort of startup operation, it's difficult to get to grips with sort of tier 1 operators. But for tier 2 and tier 3, what are the main benefits, the main functionalities and services that you can offer?
The main facility is really, it's easier for us indeed to talk to tier 2 and tier 3 companies for a quite simple reason. When I come in, we're usually at a round table and I have all the relevant people there. The marketing, finance, even legal, sales, operations, IT, because usually they're very close-knit groups. Compare that to a tier 1, you have the same people, but they work at different levels, different buildings, different countries even, and you can't get them together. They're very defensive on their own territory. With tier 2s and tier 3s, that's quite different, especially the younger, the startup companies, which we see a lot in Central Europe and Asia. It's for quite a few of them, it's a boy's dream coming true, you know. I mean, they're starting up a broadcaster. Wow, that's exciting. So the team building is much different there. And then it's much easier for me to talk about proper subscriber management and billing, talking about an integration layer, and make clear to them that using these systems, whether with the integration platform in place, whether they use our subscriber management and billing system or another one, whether they use CA systems from France, Norway, or America, or wherever they all come from, that's up to them to decide. That's not for the OSS BSS to control. It's their choice. They choose what I like to call the best of breed for them.
So I guess the key is that your system is an open system, an integrating system that sits on top of their legacy system and brings everything together.
That's right. It's a very open system. We base ourselves on only industry standards, so there's no proprietary software involved. We use Oracle as our standard database. A nice example, I had it just a couple of weeks ago. A big surprise and a big smile from the finance lady because she requested some kind of data from our database, you know, billing data, customer data, customers, the churn data, etc. So I told her, well, perfect, if you have a query tool, an Oracle query tool, here it is, it's your data, it's not mine. So and I was actually the first one from the OSS BSS side who said that to her. It's her data, it's not mine. Right. I just provide a system. It's an Oracle open database.
So clearly, you know, a key advantage you offer is speed to market. I mean, typically, how long does it take to implement your system?
If you look at let us say a startup operator, almost greenfield, then it'll take 4 to 6 weeks to have it up and running. If you talk about integrating an integration platform into an already existing OSS BSS environment, okay, the first interface can take place within a few weeks or days even. If we talk about SMS and billing systems from scratch to up and running, again, anything between 2 and 8 weeks. Because the software is highly standardized, but very customizable, tunable. But the software we have up and running is for most operators for 85 and 90% usable. So they can get a very quick start and start building their customer data, see how the system works, change some small things, get it customized to a slightly higher level, and on the fly operate it and work it.
So there's no risk in having to stop one system and start another. You can set your system up and run it alongside, dry run it until you're absolutely ready, and then transfer.
Yes, the whole idea of these systems is to be able to implement it into a running operation, because that's the operation we usually run into. And obviously we cannot ask the operator to just cease for 3 months and let us come in.